My parents never believed my disability was real and made me suffer. So now I'm about to have surgery, and I'm struggling to figure out how to break the news. Posted by you/Eshlaw. When I was born, my parents lived in a tiny, overlooked town in the Midwest, the kind of place where everyone knows your name, but not always in a good way. We were poor. Not just tight on money poor, but hope is a luxury poor. My parents didn't finish high school, didn't trust doctors, and didn't believe in anything they couldn't see or control. They also carried a lot of anger at the world, at each other, and eventually at me. From the moment I started to walk, it was obvious something wasn't right. My gait was off. I wobbled, limped, dragged one foot behind the other. Instead of curiosity or concern, my parents treated it like a character flaw. In my father's eyes, I was lazy, dramatic, and defiant. He didn't believe in disabilities. He believed in discipline. My mother rarely spoke up. She followed his lead, kept the peace, and turned a blind eye. So from the time I could toddle across a room, I was punished for how I walked. At first, the punishments were mild, scoldings, timeouts. But as I got older, they escalated. I was accused of seeking attention, trying to embarrass them in public, making things harder on purpose. I was spanked, grounded, and screamed at for something I couldn't control. Every day for almost 8 years, I was told that the way I moved through the world was wrong, morally wrong. No doctor was consulted. No professional was asked. It was just me against their perception of what I should be. It wasn't until a teacher, God bless her, noticed my limp and the way I struggled in gym class that things finally changed. She requested a meeting with my parents and practically forced them to take me to a specialist. It was the first time anyone acknowledged that what I was dealing with might be medical. I was diagnosed with a congenital disability. The doctor explained that I had been born this way. It wasn't something I could fix on my own, and it certainly wasn't something I was pretending. He recommended surgery, expensive, complicated surgery. My family couldn't afford it, so we did what we could. I was fitted for leg braces and started physical therapy. None of it worked, because no amount of therapy or bracing can undo the fact that I was born like this. You can't train a brain to reroute signals it never sent properly in the first place. And even after the diagnosis, my parents didn't change their minds. They simply created a new theory, one that kept the blame on me. According to them, I had faked the limp as a child, and by pretending for so long, I had actually made my body that way. They clung to that idea like it was gospel. I was still responsible in their eyes. The braces, the physical therapy, the specialist appointments, they called it money down the drain. They told me so, often. I grew up believing my disability was my fault. School was no escape. I wore leg braces during a time when Forrest Gump was in every theater and on every TV. I was relentlessly teased. Kids laughed at my walk, mimicked my limp, called me a robot. Adults weren't much better. Strangers in grocery stores felt entitled to comment on my posture or offer unsolicited advice. Extended family members would pull me aside at holidays and say things like, if you tried a little harder, you might be able to walk normally. At my wedding, people in the receiving line commented on my gait. It became easier to expect judgment than kindness. So I adapted. I built survival tactics the way most kids build Lego sets. I taught myself a fake normal walk, one that worked when I couldn't wear my leg braces, but came at the cost of intense physical effort. I developed a thick skin. I cracked jokes about myself before anyone else could. My disability became such an ingrained part of my identity that I stopped thinking of it as a disability at all. It was just me. By the time I turned 30, I had spent decades adjusting to my body. I knew how to move in a way that minimized attention, how to mask the pain, how to function in a world that wasn't built for me. But over time, my body started pushing back. The way I walked, my forced, adapted gait, put constant, unnatural pressure on my feet and legs. In the last few years, I began experiencing new symptoms: numbness, tingling, sharp pains that shot through my arches and up my shins. Some days, I could barely make it across a room. Other days, I pushed through it with a smile, only to collapse on the couch and cry once no one was watching. I finally saw a doctor who referred me to an orthopedic surgeon. I'll never forget the look on his face during that first consultation. He examined me like I was a medical mystery. "How old are you again?" he asked, frowning. 33. He blinked. "I've never seen a case this severe in an adult. Most people get surgery for this as kids. You've been walking like this your whole life?" He took pictures with his phone, with my consent, for educational purposes. Imaging confirmed that the damage was extensive. There was tissue degradation, nerve compression, and stress fractures. The surgeon told me that surgery was no longer optional. If I wanted to keep walking, I had to act now. I scheduled the operation 2 months out, but after setting the date, I didn't feel relief. I felt grief. Complicated, overwhelming grief. I didn't know how to tell my family. For years, I had refused to speak about my condition around them. Anytime someone made a joke like, still walking like a freak, huh? I just smiled or walked away. I had built emotional walls so tall that revisiting the topic felt like climbing out of a grave. I also struggled with what the surgery meant. For 30 years, I had told myself there was nothing wrong with me. This was my body, my walk, my life. And now I was literally going to have it cut open and changed. Was I finally admitting that everyone else had been right? That I was broken? The surgeon explained I would have to relearn how to walk, run, and jump. I should have been excited, but I cried. Hard. Because even though the change was good, it felt like saying goodbye to a version of myself I had lived with forever. My disability was part of who I was. Fixing it felt like betrayal. I went online to ask for advice. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few kind words or a good luck. What I got was an outpouring of support. Hundreds of comments. Strangers told me they admired my strength, validated my pain, and reassured me that I didn't owe my family anything. Some said, tell them, while others said, protect your peace. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. This was my body, my journey. I shared more in the comments. I told people about my upbringing, how my father had been an alcoholic, how my mother enabled him, how therapy had helped me break the cycle. I explained that I kept limited contact with my family out of love for my siblings and a desire for some version of connection, even if it was unhealthy at times. After reading the responses, I made my decision. I would get the surgery, recover in peace, and not tell my family. I lived across the country and only saw them once or twice a year. I could heal privately. If they noticed something was different later on, we could deal with it then or not at all. Update 3 months later. It's been about a month since the surgery, and honestly, I'm doing better than I ever expected. The procedure went smoothly, no complications, no setbacks. The first few days were rough. I won't sugarcoat it. The pain was intense, and I was completely dependent on my husband. He took a week off work to care for me, and he was incredible. By day 5 or 6, I was off the heavy painkillers and managing okay. I'm still on crutches and will be for a couple more weeks, but recovery is going well. I can already see changes in the way my foot moves and the way I balance. At first, we told no one, not even my closest friends. It felt safer that way. But after a couple weeks, it started to feel like we were hiding something shameful. I finally opened up to a few close friends who were nothing but supportive. That gave me the courage to do something I hadn't planned. I told my mom. She called one night just to chat, and I cracked. Yeah, I said casually. So I had surgery about 2.5 weeks ago. She was stunned. Hurt, too, but not angry. I think she expected to be part of something like this. And it stung that I hadn't told her. I explained as gently as I could. This had always been a tense topic, and I needed to protect myself. Her voice got quiet. She didn't argue. She sounded ashamed. That moment meant more to me than she'll probably ever know. Later that night, I made a Facebook post. I came out to my broader circle of friends and family. I wrote about growing up different, the shame and isolation, and how deeply it had affected my self-worth. I didn't share medical details, but I emphasized how disabled people deserve kindness, not questions, not ridicule. I said I had no room in my heart for resentment anymore and that I was hopeful about the future. The response was overwhelming. So much love, so much support. And then my parents started calling. They left a few voicemails and eventually I talked to my mom again. She told me she was looking at flights. She wanted to visit and help out. I thanked her, but said it wasn't necessary. She pushed a little, said she just wanted to cook for me, help me get around, be there. Apparently, the combination of my silence and that Facebook post had shaken something loose in her. She and my dad felt guilty. I don't need their guilt, but I do appreciate their effort. That's all I ever wanted, really, acknowledgement that I wasn't making it up, that I wasn't broken, that I mattered. For now, I'm doing well. I don't expect to ever be close with my family. There's too much history, too many wounds. But it's nice to know that people can change, or at least try to. And maybe, just maybe, they're starting to see me as I've always been. Someone who survived. Someone who kept walking, however imperfectly. Thank you all for your kindness. Truly, you made a scary time feel a little less lonely. Here's to good health, good people, and walking forward on my terms.